You're listening to Inside Real Estate, your source for all things mortgage and real estate related. The show that brings you all the hottest topics and insights directly from those who know it most. Now sit back and enjoy the show.
In a shade.
Someone's like white knuckled on the steering wheel.
They heed the advice of
Right. She's like, sit back. And he's like, I should sit back.
I mean, her voice is relaxing.
Yeah, it is really relaxing. What's up, everyone? Paul Paslakis, Brad Weisgerber, Salvatore Kuzmano. We are Inside Real Estate. Special guest today, Justin.
Jessica Woodbeck.
Jessica Woodbeck.
Yes.
How are you? The Woodbecks are awesome, by the way. They're a local team here in Metro Detroit. And so I want to kind of get into your story, kind of, first of all, you guys are married, which is, you guys work together every day.
Shocking.
Yeah, shocking. And you guys are still married.
Every day.
We actually got married to do that.
We did.
So,
Yeah.
So you guys have an interesting story. I think how you guys started, kind of rebuilt, and what your plan is, and kind of your theory on what you want to be going forward. I think that'll be interesting to talk about that. A lot of cool things happening in the market. The spring's coming up. I want to know what you guys think about the spring market this year compared to like other years, right? Because there's been so much talk about the market changing, things changing, competition being a little bit more fierce. So I want to get your take on what you think the spring's going to look like. But first and foremost, how did you guys get into real estate? I mean, that's always the number one thing. Like, how do you end up here, right?
Well, she preceded me, so I'll let her start.
I'm talking to the mic.
I did. Okay, so I got into real estate. I was laid off from General Motors, so I have a corporate background. I was laid off at the time. They were going through multiple rounds, month after month, calling people back. So I would call back multiple times. And at this point, I was laid off. And I had just gotten out of a horrible relationship. And I'm like, you know what? I love real estate. I was a leasing consultant back in the day, managed a bunch of properties, and so went and got my license, and the rest was history. I did kind of both for a while, tiptoed into it.
That's what a lot of people do, right?
You had that conscious thought of, I love real estate?
I did. Yeah, it runs in, I was one of those, funny story, my mom and I used to look at houses as buyers just to go look at property, which is horrible.
It's
now
like,
that I'm
like,
a realtor, I'm like, that is a nightmare. What were we doing?
But now you can do it just by looking at Zillow.
Hey,
might not be a
if you're not like a real buyer.
strategy.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, I see you in all my open houses.
Exactly.
You don't seem to be a buyer.
Come on,
but
join.
A lot of people are like that. Like I do it. Like I'll look through Zillow. It's like house porn. I'm just like looking at different houses and like seeing what's out there.
Do you do it on vacation too?
Yeah,
all
the time. I'll go like different areas. I'll be in Miami. I'm like, let's see what's around here.
Maybe you do want to buy here.
I was that guy this morning. I was just driving down the streets, like kind of like sending pictures and
Of
like,
what?
houses. I'm like,
I'm
like tax season. I'm ready to buy.
Sal walks up to me in the parking lot this morning. He's like, dude, I think I want to buy this. He shows me this house. I was like, that's a gorgeous house.
You found a house you want to buy?
But you have a gorgeous house.
I do, and then I thought,
Do you have a
about it,
realtor?
and I'm like,
That you know none.
There you go.
I haven't signed any contracts.
There you go.
Yeah, good.
There you go.
That's
So
critical.
what year was this, Jessica?
It was 2009 I got licensed.
2009.
So everyone's running out of real
Yeah,
estate, and I'm like full speed ahead, young gun. I'm like, where are you guys going?
You know,
short sales are amazing.
It's so weird to me. A lot of agents actually started then that are doing really well now.
Right.
So what do you think? At that time it was crazy. Foreclosures, people aren't buying houses. The market's slow. You get into it, and how do you start in that market?
Well, I think the reason most that started then are successful now is it was just gritty, and you knew nothing else, right? There was no other option. There was no other way of doing business.
Right.
You were hustling, and you were figuring it out. There was no playbook because short sales were so new. There were so many loopholes. The banks couldn't keep up.
The rules were all over the place.
Oh my God.
The
Were there any
structuring the deal.
rules?
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. How do you structure a deal? It was really wild, and you had to be really smart to be able to navigate those waters back then.
Right. Yeah.
So you do that for a little while. Did you go to like a big brokerage? Where did you do as far as?
I went to C21. So I'm from Dearborn.
Okay.
Grew up there, and that was the big house in the area.
Yeah.
So all of the senior agents were there. I knew lots of people. I'm a fourth generation in Dearborn, so
Got it.
I knew tons of grandpas, grandmas, dads, moms.
My dad had a
people
restaurant
that
in
went
Dearborn.
there.
That's funny.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So you're there now, and you're doing this thing, and then how does that evolve?
I got called back to General Motors, so I'm like, well, I should probably go back.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
safety net, the whole 9 yards. And then I met Justin. Fast forward, it's 2013. We're pregnant with my second child, and I thought,
When you met him, you were pregnant with?
I
No,
got pregnant
no.
first
No.
with my second, and he just took them all on. No, that's not true.
So what were you doing? What were you doing at the time?
I was a cop in Detroit for 15 years.
Oh, shit.
So kind of a little bit of everything down there. And as she mentioned, we met in 2010, and actually I think it was our second or third date. Her schedule
yes.
was all over the place, incredibly busy. Mine was
I was a
relatively
single mom,
structured.
so I mean, it was kids, 2 jobs.
Yeah,
I don't know how I fit dating in. Actually, I tried
not
to
kids.
stop dating.
She was a single mom. To
I
one.
was. I had one
So,
child. Yes, our oldest.
Unless there's something I don't know.
Yeah. Surprise! Inside real estate. Surprise!
For all the breaking
podcast
news.
ever.
So our second or third date, I couldn't hardly get any time with Jess, and so she had a closing all the way out. It was like Chelsea or something. It was really far, or Milan area.
Yeah.
And it was one of her good friends, and I actually was like, well, I'll come with you. She had to do the final walkthrough and the closing. I figured I'll get an hour of her time there and an hour of her time on the way back.
Smart. You're like, I'll hang out.
So-
Really
Smart.
Yeah.
I was pretty persistent.
He
when
must
it
have
came
really
to-
liked
He
you to go to a
was
closing.
persistent.
Yeah, he must have
Yeah.
really
I kept
liked.
saying no. He's
Yeah.
like, what about?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Help out. So I actually went along that day and did the walkthrough with them, pretended to be her essentially apprentice, and that was the first exposure to anything real estate related in my life.
It was
outside
also
of
your
kicking
first
indoors.
role play of all time. Yeah.
Yeah, well, no, I did do a lot of plainclothes work as a police officer, so I got to pretend to be contractors. Whatever, but
That is true.
outside of kicking indoors as a police officer, I mean, that was the first experience into going into the real estate realm. And
What did you think about it in that because you probably haven't been part of that at that point, right?
Never,
Never,
yeah,
right?
never.
So you're in this like weird world. You're doing the walkthrough. You're doing the closing. What were you thinking about it?
Well, I mean, I didn't go into the closing with her. I sat out in the car,
You did
but
the walkthrough. I remember that. You actually pointed out something because I was so new too. He pointed out that there was hardwood under the carpet, and I'm like, that's right. That's why he's here.
yeah,
That's awesome.
I was
So,
like, I think
yeah.
we're going to make a good team.
Mhm.
So that piqued my interest, and then obviously as the years progressed, in between then and 2013-ish, I'd hear Jess's stories and the things that she would do with her clients, and it just continued to compound the interest of the industry.
Yeah.
And we were pregnant with our daughter, middle child, in 2013, and obviously she had a book of business. She had a lot of stuff in her pipe, and I didn't want to see that go away, neither did she. So we developed an idea, well, you'll get licensed and you'll step into my shoes, because I don't want to show homes while I'm stomach's out to here, 9 months
Yeah, you're
pregnant.
not comfortable doing
Right.
that. Right. Yeah. No, who wants to do
6
that?
months and it's over
Yeah.
for me. I'm like,
Right.
So I'd say circumstance more than anything kind of pushed me over the hurdle into actually getting licensed and doing
You're still
it.
a police officer at this time?
Yes.
You are. So you're doing both.
I'm not only a police officer, but I'm performing marriages at that point. I was actually an ordained
he was
minister.
an ordained minister.
wait.
Yeah.
And then I was,
He did over 50 weddings.
Yeah.
50 weddings?
Yes.
Why were you the guy that people
well,
wanted
no,
to
I used to do 30 to 40 a summer.
Right.
get out of here?
Yeah.
How do people
Find
are they
you,
all
like,
friends
yeah.
and family? Or
No.
like, how do,
No,
Oh, no,
I
we turned
created
it
a
into a
business
business.
around it.
really?
Yeah. So I mainly use the website. I don't even know if it's around anymore, called The Knot.
Yeah, it still is.
And there was another
He
one.
was the only young male
Ordained.
ordained.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Yep.
So it was a
person.
thing.
Yeah.
But unbeknownst to me, I did that before I was in real estate. And I didn't realize it at that time that going on these appointments and meeting these potential couples was preparing me for consultations and listing appointments in the real
Got
estate
it.
world.
So it translated real well.
Because that was completely foreign to me. You know, getting in front of people and engaging on a social, personal level was actually challenging for me after 15 years of law enforcement in Detroit.
For sure.
You know, you become very guarded, very jaded, very cynical about just about anybody.
Just the
you know, you're
world
like,
in
what's
general,
that?
right?
You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you know, so I had to retrain myself throughout all that to be able to think, function, and act like a normal human being, like I did before.
That's how I felt when I left Quicken, but that's a different story.
There you go. Yeah.
So
Well, I think when you lacks passion. So the reason
Yeah.
I made the full-time jump was General Motors was awesome. I did some phenomenal things there that helped me today in negotiations and contracts, but it didn't have the people aspect.
Right.
You know, everyone keeps to themselves. It's not a passionate place to go and work. At least it wasn't when I was there.
If anything, it's
in the
dog eat
division.
dog.
It's very dog eat dog. Yeah.
yeah. So okay, so now you got kind of doing this thing. You guys are like, what
Yeah.
year was this? All
So
this
that
is
was
happening?
late 2013 is when I got licensed, September 2013, and then as we went through 2014, we basically Jess was fully away from GM, fully into real estate and being just a rock star mom that she is. and I was still full-time, all the other things I was doing. That was an incredibly hard year for us. Late
we were
2013,
robbing
early.
Peter to pay Paul. I was the
Yeah.
breadwinner, obviously. He's
Right.
a police officer in Detroit. He's
Sure.
making
I didn't make
average
shit.
income.
You know,
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
my top salary was like $48,000
It's so
a year.
crazy when you think
That's
about
nuts.
that.
It's unreal.
That's really wild.
After, at that time, after 13, 14 years.
And by the way, Detroit back then wasn't as nice as
no,
it is today.
no.
Like,
Oh,
no.
gosh,
back
no.
then, Detroit
it was
was
nothing like it is today.
no. It was
Which is
Detroit.
crazy.
yeah.
It was only 6 years ago.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know?
Right.
Yeah, it
But-
blows his mind every time we go down
It-
there.
it-
He's
something's
like,
different every time.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's baptism by fire.
Yeah.
Because I think I was a cop for literally 10 hours before I got shot at the first time. It's an incredibly
Oh,
crazy
shit. Wait,
place to
how
work.
many times were you shot at?
I lost count, honestly.
Oh
I
my
don't.
God,
You get
dude.
so used to it that you can
He's
actually.
never been shot.
I've,
I get- yeah, okay.
Knock
Yeah,
on wood.
okay.
I've unfortunately lost a lot of friends. My partner got shot in the head in 2006. I'll take it away from this topic because I don't want to bring the mood down.
Yeah,
But
no, I get it. Yeah, but
the point is, it's just to illustrate it's a crazy world down there, and I had to essentially learn how to pull myself out of that. But in that 2014 year, I mean, we were down to just my salary, whatever we could do scraping by and slowly building up our real estate business. And I mean, I remember we opened up a fair amount of credit cards right before she left GM, and what we kind
We
of
didn't do
pre-thinking.
it the way you should.
No.
I mean, everything we're saying now, we would never
right,
advise
yeah,
anybody else
right.
to do.
But you had to do it. You did
Yeah,
what you had to do.
we
at that
did.
time.
Working around
Yeah.
the clock, there's secondary employment with the police department where you can go be security for somebody as a uniformed police officer outside of regular work hours, and I would literally work around the clock. Sometimes I wouldn't come home for an entire day.
Oh,
and
and
a
all
half.
while helping buyers. So there would
Yeah.
be sometimes he'd be walking out, bulletproof vest on, hat, the whole nine. I'm like, no, you're meeting Nancy and Joe.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
You have your real estate garb on. Yes. He's like, oh my God.
Wow, those were probably like really, but that probably shaped who you were going
Oh,
forward. from
gosh,
that.
yeah.
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 Well,
It made us resilient.
Yeah.
And it's also not like this perfect playbook when you open a business where it's like, all right, well, the time will be right. We can quit both our jobs.
Right.
We'll have
It's
X
never
saved. We'll do
perfect.
this,
Yeah.
right?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, hey, we're not going to eat for like a month,
Yeah.
2 months,
Mhm.
3 months. Like
And we
actually
truly
not pay
didn't
ourselves.
have the
right?
option of not eat. I mean, like
Yeah.
physically not eating, not
We had two
taking.
kids?
We had 2 kids.
Yeah.
We had to make some
mortgage?
sort of money.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
No,
Roof
yeah,
over our
it's
head.
Lots of stress back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so how did you get to a point where you started really building your business and like really felt good about it?
I would say it was late 2014 that things finally started opening up for us. We had just a couple transactions. Actually, in December of 2014, we closed Mike Doug and the mayor of Detroit's family home, the one that he raised his kids in Livonia.
That's awesome.
Somehow we managed to get in the position to be able to interview for that listing.
Mm-hmm.
We actually got it, and we ended up double dipping that. So I found the buyer for it. Jess had listed it, and we'd closed about 1.6, 1.7 that month in December, and we decided for the first time in probably 2-3 years to take a vacation. End of
okay.
December, beginning of January. And I remember we were on vacation, and Jess reminds me of this all the time too. Those checks finally hit our account,
Yeah.
and I must have stared at our
He
account
stared
statement
at our
for
bank account.
literally
He was like, well, it was his DPD
my
salary.
annual salary.
In one chunk.
Yeah.
And that just blew his
yeah.
mind.
He's
Yeah.
like, wait, there is something here
Is
now.
someone going to
Oh,
come
yeah.
take this? What is this
Like,
real?
is this wrong?
It was the
It
first-
feels
Yeah.
very strange. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So that was a pivotal moment. That's
until
when
I-
we decided
yeah.
it's time.
I kind of got home and I felt like I needed to go to the bank, be like, is it still here?
Yeah.
I know it
Was
says it's
there an
here, but is it
accounting
actually
error?
still here?
Is
Can you
this-
show it to me?
Yeah.
But no, it was incredible. That was the first time it actually got real. And on that vacation, we came home from that developing a plan where the plan at that time was in 5 years,
Yeah.
I would retire as a police officer, and always, big goals back then, to just simply replace my annual salary every year or replace the total of both of ours. So we were looking to make, roughly 6 figures, about 150,000
Right.
altogether. And we figured it'd take about 5 years to get there. And at that time, if we could do that, that was the most amazing
You're
thing in the
happy.
entire
yeah.
world.
Yeah.
So we had this 5-year plan. We set off doing it, and within 3 months, we very quickly realized that I couldn't afford to be a police officer anymore. And instead of
happens.
5 years,
Yeah.
it took us less than 6 months.
Right.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so,
awesome.
And you retired.
And I
and
retired
rest is
June
history.
2nd of 2015.
That's awesome.
You
Congratulations
retired?
on that.
Retired or you quit?
Retired.
Retired.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, that's like a lot of like hardship. You had to figure it out, right? It wasn't.
yeah.
It didn't just happen for you guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So when did it become this idea that you were going to build a team and kind of start doing the thing where you're like, you know what, we've got a good thing. Let's actually try to like get people and start creating a universe around us, right?
Yeah, Justin and I have always been clear. The reason we're in real estate, the reason I took the jump was to find some passion and also own my time.
Yeah.
I wanted to be able to be there for our kids and do what I wanted to do in the time I was investing in work. And we were hitting a point where we were surpassing the reason we came to the industry, where we're stretching in time.
Right.
We were working 7 days a week. We had people helping with the kids now, and
Right.
we just weren't home. And so I had a mentor at the time and came to the realization that I had to sell 1.5 more homes with 40 extra hours a week if I were to hire an admin with that leverage.
Right.
And I'm like,
Yeah. Why not?
of course.
Yeah. Why,
40
how does that not
extra
make sense?
hours, could I sell
Right.
one extra home? No
Right.
doubt.
Mm-hmm.
And so 2016, middle of 2016, we hired our first employee.
Yeah, that's always a weird thing, and I think Sal and I kind of went through this where you realize that you can do more
Right.
if you have more time, and you can provide more for the people
Right.
around you
Yep.
if you can focus on the things that you're really actually
Right.
good at,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just identifying your 20% and staying there.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I thought the piece for most people getting into real estate is that. How can I afford it? You think of the annual salary and think, oh my God, I work too hard for my money. I'm not
Correct.
getting that up.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
You want to pinch the
Scarcity
pennies,
mindset.
right?
Yeah.
Scarcity, not abundance, right?
And when you look at it from a time perspective, you realize, 40 hours, easy. I can do
And
that.
even if you made the same amount of money, you'd have more time.
Right.
Right.
You know
Well,
what I mean?
and the other perspective that was really interesting, my mentor actually said to me as well, like, stop being so selfish. This could be an opportunity of a lifetime for someone. You
Yeah.
never know.
Yeah,
Mhm.
You
that's
can't
actually
take
pretty
that
true.
perspective that it's not for you. It could be for somebody else.
Yeah.
And, we never looked back.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So fast forward to today. Yeah, you guys have a really good team. You've created a really good brand. You guys do a lot of good things with social. So I want to talk to you guys about, you do really well on the social side. You marketing yourselves with Instagram and all that great stuff. Talk to me about that strategy. How did that develop, and how did you really start really honing in on how you should do that?
Well, there was a startup company. I don't know if they were even startup at this point. But there was a small company called Curator. This was 5-6 years ago, and I had kept my eye on them. I mean, they were incredible. Chris
Yeah.
Smith and Jimmy Mackin were running it at the time, and we joined forces with them right away before anybody anywhere near us. I love standing in gaps, and that was a gap, digital marketing.
Sure.
And that's where it started. So it started with them, and then it just from there, it's constant education around it, constant understanding of what people actually want to see, not what you think they want to see.
Right.
This whole perfection stuff is bullshit.
Yeah.
It
No,
doesn't
you're
really
right.
Nobody likes
exist.
perfection.
No one
Yeah.
wants to actually see that.
Yeah, it's the authenticity now. I don't think in
Right.
today's world they get so much bullshit. To
Right.
your point, everything's so refined. Nobody knows anybody, and when someone sees someone, you can tell right off the bat if they're being transparent or if they're really just not. That's not who they are.
Right.
Right. So you guys do a really good job. You do. I mean, you do like headstands and
I
do. I
do.
mean, a
I
lot
do
of them,
some
right?
weird
Lots of
stuff. yes.
So I remember I was like, Sal. I was like, what? Yeah, she does that all the time.
Yeah.
I was
Just
like,
upside
Lots
down.
of headstands.
yeah, yeah. So you focus in on Instagram more than anything right now.
I would say yes, only because that's the platform we go to first.
Right.
So it feeds right into Facebook.
Right.
We pay great
Right.
attention to Facebook. I mean, our Thrive in Real Estate, which Ezra is a big part of,
What up, Ezra?
is through Facebook.
Yeah.
I find building a platform is easier on Facebook than it is on Instagram.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we start there with some platforms, and then you'll see Thrive in Real Estate will have its own page later on this year.
So what's your theory about Instagram? How do you attack it? Like, I know you do a lot of posting, right? I mean, I think you are content heavy, right? What is your ideas around like how you would let's say you're a new agent today and you wanted to, because I was sat down and I saw you kind of talk about this. How do you start working in that space, and how because a lot of people are thinking, oh, I don't know anything about it. I don't know how to market myself. I don't know how the whole platform works. What do you suggest that they do?
Yeah. So right back to the authenticity button.
Yeah.
I think they get caught up in how do I look perfect?
Yeah.
My face is in a certain way. My hair is not. I have no money. I have no confidence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it has nothing to do with that. Zero to do with that, and everything to do with your messaging. That's it. Be authentic to who you're being, and just freaking do it.
Just do it, right?
So our training, it's funny you're bringing this up. We, over the last course of the holidays and going into the new year, we changed all of our training. So we have a boot camp that people go through when they enter onto our team. And it's from day one, they're doing video. The first day on our team.
Right off the
Even
bat.
before that,
Right.
the
Most
interview
of our
process,
interview-
they're doing it through video.
most
So
of
they're
our interview
sending in
process.
videos and
Constantly.
yeah.
That's
So I mean, it's
interesting.
just right from the get. I mean, we know how important it is.
And do you feel like, so the effectiveness of that, do you feel like that actually has helped your business, and how has it helped your business?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean,
Yeah.
it exposes us from a human level, right?
Well,
it's rather than
get to
we're
build
not just
rapport
a
from a
just
distance.
listed,
Right.
we're not just a coming soon, we're not just a fancy kitchen.
Yeah.
We're real people doing real things. We
Right.
have families we're trying to feed, and we're practicing our scripts and our role plays and our negotiation tactics. We're going outside the box and learning more so we can go further in our profession. So it's
That's
taking
awesome. It makes you like human, right? Like when you
Right.
go talk to someone, all of a sudden now, I know who Jessica was
people
before I
mo-
met you.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
people might friend you and not even know you do real estate because they get to know you
Exactly.
first. But
Right.
then, hey, we also do real estate,
Right.
right? Like,
And you're not
versus,
jamming
like,
it down their throat. You're just being
Exactly.
authentic about it. That's the beauty of it.
Yeah, I mean, we message all the time. Like, no one's going to call you if they don't know what you do,
right.
Right.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
you can't be a secret agent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like-
Well, and nobody's going to hire you to do anything if they're not comfortable with you as a
Right.
person as well. It's
Absolutely.
actually the person first, the competency second, but the belief in the competency is so much easier when they like you as a person.
Right.
So, I actually went on an appointment a couple months back, probably, I don't know, 6 months ago. Last summer, we had our 16-year-old son, Jake, do a internship throughout the summer.
Yep.
And Ezra ended up doing a video with him and everything, kind of
The skateboard,
recapping.
was
Yes.
it?
Yeah.
I saw it.
And I went to this listing appointment. I'm sitting there talking to the seller, and I brought up something that kind of triggered that memory. She's like, I mentioned
Oh,
something
yeah,
about my
Jake.
son. She's like, oh, Jake, right? And I'm like, first, the retired cop in me was like,
whoa,
what?
whoa, yeah, right.
But then she's like, I saw your video on your his internship. That was incredible. Like, so amazing that you guys do stuff like that. And her rapport and her body language, posture, and everything was just so relaxed and comfortable.
Yeah.
It made it effortless. And so many times we get to walk into scenarios where people feel like they already know who we are because we're truly genuine whenever we're forward facing on any kind of social media or video.
Yeah.
It breaks down barriers without having to even face them.
Right. Right. That's interesting. So today, I know you have a really good team. You had teams before. You kind of were like, that's not where we want to go. And
Right.
you kind of like retooled, and you guys are like rebuilding, another version of what you guys want to do. So talk to me about that process of kind of realizing maybe you weren't where you were. And because that's a hard decision, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't have what we want right now. And to strip it all back and start over, that's not easy. So
Yeah,
tell me.
we burnt the house down 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, we're in
so-
3.0 right now. I think number
interesting.
one is we constantly go back to why we're here. And
Right.
when we go there and we remind ourselves what we're in the industry for, we didn't come here to make a boatload of money. That was an after effect. We
Right.
came here to just simply can we make our salaries that we were making and be happy? Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
So when we go back there and realize it's not about the money, it's about, for us now, our true mission when we diluted everything was to create wealth and change lives. And when you're surrounded by the wrong people, that's impossible.
Impossible.
It's really easy to get lost and lose the reason that you started.
Yes.
Especially when there's money involved. Yeah. Yeah.
It's
you become
really
good-
easy.
Yeah,
My
for
gosh,
sure.
yeah.
Once you step back and relook at why you started it, it
Especially
gives you a whole new drive.
if you might be doing the wrong thing every day, right? And not really realizing it, just thinking like, all right, like we got to make house money, right, or whatever. And
Right.
Yeah, I was
you're
going to
not
say in the
really-
beginning, we didn't know.
Yeah.
The
Well,
1.0.
when you're entrepreneurs, you guys get it, right? 4 partners coming together.
You're surviving.
Yeah.
You're just out there
You're
doing,
surviving. You're like,
as
yeah,
you always
figuring it
have.
out as you
You're
go.
running.
Do.
Yeah. You're running fast. Things are happening.
Yeah.
So you look around and you realize, okay, this isn't working, right? And you're like, so how do you strip it down? And then what are you looking for after that? Like this is the 3rd time you've kind of done that, right?
Yeah.
So what was different this time, and what was your strategy and what you wanted at this point?
We had to get clear first.
Yeah.
We had to get clear on
Yeah.
what do we want to accomplish here in this industry.
Who do
What-
we want to be?
Yeah, who do
stand
we
for?
That's the
wanna
number
be.
one, yeah, for sure.
What do we want to be known for? What do we want our business to be known for after that? And then when we looked up and realized, wow, we are surrounded by people that don't believe in those things. Their core values don't line up with ours. Their mindset doesn't line up with ours. We're just making money together,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it's difficult because
and
we're
it's-
not aligned.
It felt like you were dragging people along all the time.
Right.
Right.
And then that just simply
Well, they were
means we're
dragging
not
you
aligned.
down, really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
Right,
maybe
right.
these people
Yeah.
went on
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah.
successful and they're fine. It wasn't a good fit for us.
Right.
Yeah.
They were just on the wrong bus.
Got it. So what do
Yeah.
you look for in people today that you bring onto your team?
We have a culture code, so we look for
Culture code.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's interesting.
it's pretty defined. It's 7 pillars of characteristics that we look for in people. A few of them are solution seeking. They have to be rapid problem solvers. They have to want to problem solve. I don't know if you guys have come across people where a problem comes up and they're like,
They freeze.
deal's going
yeah,
dead.
I'm
Forget
done.
it.
Yeah.
This is horrible.
Yeah.
Just crush it.
Those are
Yeah.
fun,
Yeah.
I
fun,
quit.
fun
I quit.
people.
I can't do this.
Yes,
right?
and
yeah.
they just complain
Yeah.
and complain.
This sucks. This
So
Mhm.
that's critical to
Mhm.
us. Having some grit, truly, like
Yep.
things aren't going right, or I've fallen down so many times. The idea of quitting just isn't an option in this person's head. You just forge on,
Right.
right? You find the pathway that's going to come to that resolution. So that's a number 2 for us. And then team spirit. That's by far something that we look for. Someone that really understands the notion of going further, faster together.
Mhm.
So if someone's coming about and the whole concept of team to them is like, well, I've lost in the game of real estate. I'm just
Yeah.
going to join a team. You know, you
Yeah.
hear it all
Yeah.
the time.
Or why would I give you part of my money that I'm
Yeah.
earning? Like they
Well,
need to
that's- yeah.
understand
It's
that
so common.
they're a business owner within, if you're somebody that's on a team, you are still a business owner.
Yeah.
It's just you're choosing to invest a portion of your income or earnings
To the family.
towards leverage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
what are you getting
And
for
value.
it?
And I
Yeah.
think the number one thing that people don't think about is I would put any team member from employee to independent contractor up against any solo agent and say, my guys work harder on personal development and professional development all day,
Mm-hmm.
all day.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of interesting that it's viewed as a loss in our industry sometimes because they
well, the-
come here thinking.
Well, the
solo
reality is
it.
there's a lot of bad teams that just suck
Sure.
the money out, right?
Yeah.
I
They
know.
don't add the value.
know.
Because
Right.
really,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, if I'm on a team, it's like how much value. Because if I'm giving a portion of my, if I gave up 50% of my income,
Well,
but
if
I
you're
was
going to invest,
right.
you want a return.
exactly.
Right.
If I could do 100% more
Sure.
business, then it's worth it, right? Or whatever it
Yes.
may be.
So
So
you work in a
the value's gotta be
environment where there's teamwork and
Yeah.
support, right? I
Right.
mean,
Mhm.
there's something to be said. I think a lot of agents just kind of look for that split, right?
Yeah.
And it's like
Right.
Well, they're
you might
conditioned
get there,
to
but
from the very
you
beginning.
know, think about what you're investing in.
Mhm.
If you're getting that 20% extra or whatever,
Yeah.
Right.
you're essentially investing in yourself running in a wheel the rest of your life, right?
Right.
Like, you know, like unless you plan to open your own team or have some great ideas, like you're just going to be who you are with no avenue for anything else necessarily. Right?
Yeah, it's such a interesting. It makes no sense to me because when you look back to our childhood, there is nothing in childhood that says, "Do this on your own." Like,
Mhm.
don't run
Yeah.
relay races. Don't join sports teams.
Right.
Don't you dare.
It
like,
is actually
go
counterintuitive. You're right.
be in the circus and figure it out.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's so bizarre, even in college, right? Then there's sororities and fraternities, and there's groups, and there's chess playing things, and you're told to get into groups so you can do better,
But
right?
what's funny is there's tons of people who don't think like that.
Well, it's
right?
greed.
And I
Oh, yeah.
think
It's
when,
greed.
Yeah.
It's
when people
short-mindedness,
walk
yeah.
in the door, right? Like as a leader, like we're full glasses of information, right? And if you
Mhm.
don't like empty your glass with all the bullshit you have in your head, so I can pour that information into you, like you got to go or you got to figure it out.
Yeah, I think people forget that we're in the people experience business. And the experience you're delivering when you only have one person wearing 25 hats is subpar. I mean, you just can't touch someone
chaos.
who's got
It's a chaotic
specialists
experience.
in
Oh, yeah.
each. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think
Um,
people are afraid to give up perceived control too, right? Like,
Sure.
hey, like I have someone because I'm really busy helping a lot of people, like I help
Yeah,
you.
nobody can
So
do it as good as I
they
can.
need
right?
to, well,
Yeah.
I mean, just even the messaging that I think people fail to realize that helps them, right? Like, hey, I have a processor because she's going to help get things done for me, right? Like, otherwise,
Right.
I
She's
might
probably
drop the
better
ball.
at it than you
For
are.
sure.
all
'Cause
day,
it's a
right?
focused energy
She
on that
is,
one
yeah.
thing.
Right.
100%.
And just like, hey, I'll drop the ball if you don't work with her, essentially,
Mhm.
right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
So
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm not handing you off. I'm here, but we got to all work together as a team. So.
And here's the thing: as leaders, when we build a team around us, people might not understand that we actually take money away from ourselves because it costs money to do all this, right? To support the team. So we potentially make less money because we want a good team around us, but ultimately we believe that I think you guys
we make
some,
way less money.
way less money, way less money. Yeah, but we're okay with it because we want to have a business and be happy and have people around us.
Well, also one of the things that when we back to what you said, when we decided to do this, we decided we didn't want to be greenie and we wanted the people around us to have a great opportunity, right? Because it could be a life-changing experience for somebody.
Right? Nothing feels better so Brad's like our cook in the kitchen essentially, right? He's like, all right, let's review the payroll, right?
Just a cook.
Chef. Head chef.
Not a line cook.
He's
He's a fucking chef.
Yeah, he made the menu.
You're a bar
But
back.
like it feels so great, right? Like looking at that and saying like, all right, like we could add all that bonus that we're giving out to our salaries or whatever, and that'd still be good. But like,
we don't do that.
Yeah, like hey, take 2,000 out of what we're getting.
He deserves
chop
it
up
because he deserves it. He did a good job. Let's give him. Let's give him. Yeah.
I think it's the mindset around abundance versus somebody who has a
That's
mindset
the biggest thing.
around scarcity. Period. And
Period.
it's a leadership lid. It's an educational lid. That's it. That's the name of the game.
Well,
when
thinking
people
like
come
an
like that.
investor in your business, right? Like I'm investing this time, I'm investing this money for a future plan, as opposed to like just running.
And it's super rewarding to do because like you said, if we all look at our payroll and say, all right, let's each drop a little bit more and let's give this guy a bonus. But we don't tell him about it, right? We met the expectation we set with that person of we're going to pay you this to do your job. And then like this morning I got a text, was like, hey man, thanks for the surprise bonus. Like that's a great feeling, right? Didn't tell him, didn't know about it. And like he noticed right away.
And then they give like that's what you're doing. Like you're creating wealth. Like we want to have a good family, which is important. So that's interesting that you guys because for me, I can't stand being around someone that's in like scarcity mindset. It's hard to talk to them.
Right.
It's like, oh, I got to do this, and it's like,
well, you're not aligned.
dude, there's so much out there. Like, what are you worried about?
Yeah. And you can only do so much, right? As long as you've gone as far as you can with these particular people, you got to feel good about saying, hey,
Sometimes you got to have some tough conversations.
Here is not the place.
Yeah.
And sometimes those conversations need to be had for someone to realize what opportunity they might have, right? Like, dude, like, I love you. I'll help you find another job.
Yeah.
If you're not happy,
absolutely.
If you aren't on board, like, we got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right?
So what's next for the Woodbeck team?
Oh, goodness. What is next? We are continuing to grow, so we're focused on that.
Do we have a 5-year plan again?
No.
There's always a plan.
There's always a 5-year plan. Yeah. Everybody will be independently wealthy, and we won't be doing this anymore.
Right. Perfect.
Yes.
So you guys are growing. You are looking for to add good pieces to your team.
Yeah, we're looking for
very
sharks,
selective, though.
rock stars. Yeah, I mean we're interviewing every day, and
Your office is awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we love it. We're still with Keller Williams, of course. We love Keller Williams, but we were outgrowing our space and needed a more conducive space for everyone to sit in. We like our salespeople to sit together, our operations people to sit together, get the synergy going. We're doing that event, Thrive Live, right? We believe in synergy forwards and backwards. So
that's
it's
awesome.
important for productivity.
I've heard a lot about this office. I haven't seen it yet.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's actually in the same building we used to be in.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No, I did.
Yeah, the 888
I feel like I
building.
did know
The
that.
whole second
Yeah,
floor.
I did know that.
There's a little PTSD when I walked in there. It wasn't great. So going into the spring, guys, as far as market goes, obviously we've had a really like good market the last few years. What do you guys think? What do you see in 2020?
I mean, so far, I'm not seeing any significant change.
Right.
What we have seen over the last couple months is a little bit of an inventory increase.
Yep.
We're not really seeing it in longer days on market with our listings, but I believe it's kind of normal this time of year to get a little bit of an uptick in inventory because you have those ones that didn't price right in the fall and they sat through the winter, so they're still here, which is honestly a great time to buy as a buyer because you can usually be a little bit more aggressive in your negotiations and offers on those. So I think as long as the interest rates stay relatively where they're at, we're going to see a solid spring.
I don't see us going above 4 in an average, in the next 6 months. But we thought we were going to be at
speculate
6.
on rates.
Dude, every time we say
every time we say
we had Barry Habib on here and he was like, "Oh, it's all changed."
No.
But I think short of war or something unforeseen, I think it's going to be a good year.
Well, war's going to be good for rates. I mean, we're one bomb away from 2%.
Okay.
You never know. I mean, honestly, you don't know.
It's true,
right? There's other factors that go into that too, right? Depending who gets in and whatnot. But we're busy right now. Like it is crazy. There's a ton of activity as far as like new buyers and great opportunities for people to refinance too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So like if you're not going to sell your home and you've kind of made that choice, like think about refining. If you aren't happy, it's a great time to buy too, right?
You know, we have
And you
been
still-
seeing for the last year a reduction in the, you know, uber competitive, multiple bids
Yes.
on every house.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Right, right.
I
It's a
think
more
we're-
normal market.
Yeah,
to
I
be
think
fair.
we're
Mhm.
balancing
Balancing
out.
out.
And
Yeah.
I think we're probably truly met our peak in terms of values.
Yeah, for a
I
little
thi-
while.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think something
is
else would
scary
have to happen
me.
regionally
Mm-hmm.
in terms of economically or even on a national level to really truly start bring it back up.
Mm-hmm.
With the exception of maybe some really super depressed areas that have been that way, like areas in Detroit,
Oak
parts
Park,
of
Hazel
Oakland
Park.
County.
Hazel Park.
Yeah.
Hazel Park, yeah.
We'll still see a little bit of an increase there, but Oakland County actually in year over year had the smallest increase of all the counties around, but I think it's because they were the first to rebound.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Most
yeah.
stable.
Yeah,
Crazy appreciation,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So
I think we're done with that hyper.
But it's healthy though
like-
because you didn't want crazy like
Right.
if you
Right.
kept we were overheating at one point. I
Yeah.
felt like
It was
I felt like
overwhelming.
2018
Yeah.
summer, we were.
we
Yeah.
were
Oh, yeah.
overheating.
Scorching.
25 offers on a
Yeah.
1,200 square foot
Yep.
Ferndale.
25,
Bungalow,
35,000 over
Yeah.
appraised value.
I overpaid
It
for
was
my house.
dangerous.
Yeah.
I had one that they did a
Helped me pay for
20K
my house in
appraisal waiver,
2018.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so dangerous.
Yeah.
and it somehow appraised. I was like, wow.
All right.
They went 20 over.
So we are going to get into what we call 3 questions.
Okay.
So we the first one's always the
Is it
same.
truth or dare?
No dares, just
Oh,
truth.
okay.
Just truth. Yeah. Sal and I play truth or dare by ourselves.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah.
I videotape.
Yeah. So we have a weird relationship.
That's
yeah.
very strange.
Mhm.
That's good.
What
No
scares you
judgment.
guys individually? What is the one thing that scares you guys?
I mean, are we talking
Anything.
like Justin's afraid of heights? Does that count?
It
That's
does.
too-
It,
that's
it,
too
Go
it
clean.
does,
deeper
but
than
it's a
that,
it's
go
a
really
It could be
lane.
anything you want.
deeper than that.
Go really
You
deep.
going deep? Oh, we're going psychological. Let's go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I think just not fulfilling potential. You know, I guess I lived for such a long time in a world where it can all change like that. That once I finally got out of that, I realized, okay, I have a life that I need to make the most out of. I have a family, I have kids, and if something were to ever happen to me, and that prevented me from moving our world forward anymore, I'd be devastated if I didn't look back and think that I did everything at every moment that I could have to build it as quickly as I could, to get as much momentum and create the world that Jess and our kids deserve, and the people that are around us. So I think just not taking every moment to take every inch that I can is something that it'd scare me.
Mm-hmm.
Which is crazy because I used to be one of the laziest people in the world.
Really?
So, oh yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah. You know,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, what scares me the most? Frivolous, that I will not be able to do a headstand by the end of 2020, or a handstand by the end of 2020. I really thought 2019 I'd
The
get that.
handstand thing is important.
Man,
for you.
headstand's
Yeah.
mastered.
Got it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Handstands.
handstand, let's get it.
Got it.
But further than that, disappointment. It's my buzzword, right? I don't want to disappoint, and I'm working on it because, I mean, that's really out of my control.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But yeah, bringing people into your world and really building a big world is a vulnerable place to be, right? Do you have the guts, the balls to take it where it needs to go to keep talented people within that world? So,
Got
just-
Nothing will make you feel worse than someone saying, I'm pretty disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Don't.
You know,
Like you can
like-
beat me
Yeah.
up, you can yell at me, but
Yeah.
if you're just like
The disappointed.
That's like as a-
I'm the
I'm
most
just
Damn it.
disappointed.
Like yeah.
Yes.
Takes you right
I'm
back to being
disappointed
5
in
years
you.
old.
Yeah, 5 years old. You're waiting for it to get screamed at. And it's
Exactly.
like really
You're just
disappointed in you.
disappointed.
That's like the
Right.
worst.
Dude.
Yeah.
That is the
Man.
worst. All right, next question. If you could get rid of 3 human emotions, which ones would they be and why?
Whoa.
3 human emotions. Let's think about that. I guess jealousy really has no place for
Yeah.
people. It doesn't really, nothing good comes from that.
For sure.
Um,
I would say sadness or sorrow. Don't really need it. We focus very intently on making sure that we are constantly positive mindsetting. You know, that we're constantly in a space of gratitude. So we have no need for it.
Okay.
Sorry, you're
what's the
gonna stop.
other one?
So that's one each.
Third one.
Well, it's each of you.
3
Yeah,
each.
it's
Oh,
each
so
of
we got
each.
to come up with
Shit.
6.
That's
Well,
a
you
lot.
got
That's
you
like
have
all
the same
emotions.
ones.
Wipe us all out. No
Yeah.
emotions.
What was your first one? I'm going to say that one.
Jealousy.
Yeah, so
Like, I
jealousy.
don't
So you
really-
guys could, you
Yeah,
guys could
so
do
that's
that.
2
I think
for
Okay,
me.
Yeah,
so,
you guys
so
are
we're
pretty
gonna go. Number
cohesive,
3
yeah.
would be. Oh, what would it be? What would it be?
Human emotions that we can do without.
This is an interesting one. I don't think we've ever used
it
this.
is.
Yeah,
No,
I
this is good.
suppose
Yeah.
anger.
Yeah, or animosity.
Animosity, that's a better one.
Yeah,
Animosity's pretty good.
discontent.
But don't sometimes the
Yeah.
negative emotions cause you to have positive
That's
emotions?
what I was
Right,
gonna
that's
say.
why it's like,
Well,
I don't want to get rid of fear.
You don't.
It
Right.
has
You
a
need
place.
fear. You need
Yeah,
fear.
I could argue you need sadness a little bit too. To
How can you
to
be
go
happy
out
if you're
of,
not
right.
sad? Because you're just like
Happiness doesn't
Sure.
hold.
Right.
Happiness doesn't hold the
Sure.
same meaning if you never
Right,
sad.
and it is, I mean, you lose somebody, that's sad, right? I mean, you got to
I think this is
experience
a
it
hard
as well.
question because there's
Yeah.
The emotions feed off each other.
there's
You kind of need them all.
unlimited emotions.
No.
Sometimes you can't even describe.
I think
your emotions.
envy is something I could do without.
Oh, I
I don't want
see.
envy. I don't
The
want to
Yeah.
comparison?
Yeah.
I said
Yeah.
that was my number one.
Yeah.
Is it?
So,
You know, I could argue that because I have a coach who says that comparing is a necessity in order to stay in that kind of alive notion, right? Like, hey, Paul is doing, or vice versa, right?
Right.
Paul's doing amazing things. And
So you
instead
want to
of,
live up to that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and envious
Yeah.
in a, I guess, a positive
there's-
way
there's
instead
two
of
angles on
envious in
envy.
this.
That's
Take
true.
the
conniving-
negative route, like,
Yeah.
ugh.
No,
Like,
I
frickin'
really envy that.
Paul.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're
as
using
long
it
as
as
it
a
doesn't
driver.
get into jealousy or
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
What about hate? Do we need hate?
Yeah, I think we could get rid of
Yeah,
hate.
we
We
can
can
get
get rid of hate, right?
Agreed.
Because if you
Hate's
hate
probably
someone,
I feel like that's not really an
Why-
emotion.
Why
It
take
is
the
an
time
emotion.
to hate?
I think
Yeah.
the
Right.
hardest
It just sucks you
one
out.
would
right?
totally
be
agree.
to get over would be regret, right? I think a lot of people
Sure.
regret
Yeah.
even
That's
small
very good.
decisions, right? Like
Yeah.
shit, I wish I didn't eat
Yeah.
that, right?
Yep.
And like,
But again, does
You
that
did.
keep you
You
alive
ate
and
it.
present to not make
Yeah.
that mistake again?
yeah, you gotta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you wonder if all these emotions are necessary. One way or
Right.
the other, right? Are they all?
All right, that's a fucked up question. Third question.
You
Keep
screwed
this
the
going.
whole
Brad is
podcast.
uncomfortable. Brad is super uncomfortable.
Just-
Did,
I mean,
did
we're
Darren
Dad's
just
sweating
give
over
him his
there.
fanny pack?
Yeah. Darren's like, hey man, let's talk about emotion. I don't know why.
God.
Yeah, it was heavy. All right. Next question is: if you were stuck on a deserted island, what would be the one thing that you would bring with you and why?
Can't be family members or anything.
And it can't be a boat.
It can't be people,
be a
and it
boat
cannot be
if you're-
escaping.
Well, now it can't be a boat because
No, you're on a deserted
No,
island.
it's an
with-
item.
Yeah, one item,
item.
physical.
I mean, I don't know. This is a secret about Justin.
be
There are many
imaginary.
people in Michigan that would flee to Justin Woodbeck for survival if we experienced apocalypse or a weird world.
Is he like a prepper? Or you're
No.
He's not, which is the weird. Even preppers would come to him, which
Really?
is so bizarre.
And what-
yeah.
and what-
He's like a MacGyver.
I guess there's this, yeah. I mean,
he
but
can
there's
make
also
anything.
this
Yeah, it's bizarre.
misnomer that I have the ability to
Like we have
survive
Olympians
everywhere.
that are like,
I mean,
I'm coming to your house.
I enjoy going outdoors, and obviously I have
So what tool would you bring?
Yeah, what would you bring?
a desert island. I would probably actually
not the
bring
desert,
Deserted
deserted.
island.
okay,
Oh,
a deserted
A little bit
island.
different.
Okay, so it's tropical.
Mhm.
All right. I would definitely bring some sort of chopping or cutting tool. They make survival tools that are essentially a hybrid between a knife and a hatchet.
Right.
I'd bring something like that because you can take care of just about you can dig with it, you can cut down, build shelter, build fire, all that stuff with it.
That was my answer. I like him.
So
Yeah, I agree with that. What about you? Your Instagram.
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi?
Good stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Goodness. I feel like you need chapstick.
Chapstick.
I mean, your lips, your
SPF
face.
30.
Makes sense.
Has
Yeah.
some SPF in
Just
it.
rubbing
You can
chapstick
use
on your
it every-
face.
What happens when you run out of the chapstick?
Hopefully, Justin's figured out how to make some.
Right. Yeah.
You were doing your lips. He's like chopping down wood.
Yep. Go find a wild boar. You take it
I'm like,
down.
your
and
hands
use the
are
fat.
dry. I got the
Yeah.
chapstick.
Yeah.
Justin's like, I need a coat hanger, a wine cork.
That is literally,
Yeah.
that's how he works.
And a
yeah.
staple. Not a big one, but a small one.
I'm building a boat.
Yeah, right.
That's awesome. Well, obviously, I mean, you guys are doing some really cool stuff. We love your message. I think you have a really good team. Tell the audience how they can get a hold of you.
Well, you want to take it? All right. Well,
You can
obviously.
slide into my DMs at any time. Jess Woodbeck on Instagram.
Here we go. Now we
Jessica
gotta
Woodbeck on
filter our
Facebook.
entire friends
Yeah.
list again. The
Yeah.
moment she says
Yeah,
anything like
slide
that,
into my DMs.
all these
Yeah.
creepy guys.
Yeah,
So
Hey, girl, nice handstand.
yeah,
Girl, hey.
yeah. So no,
It's very PG over there.
they can
I
reach
promise.
out if they want to reach out with a generic email. It's info@thewoodbeckteam.com. They can go on our website, thewoodbeckteam.com. I mean, you can pretty much find us 6 ways to Sunday. We work really hard on our SEO.
Yeah.
If they want to reach out to me directly or Jess directly, it's just our first names at thewoodbeckteam.com. So Justin or Jessica at the Woodbeck Team.
You said something funny.
Big
You,
Daddy
you guys work a
Justin.
lot on your SEO. Not many real estate agents work on SEO, which is interesting to me.
Not many small companies or smaller companies do.
It's just so weird to me when you Google like interest rates, like no real estate companies come up, or homes. What are homes worth today? Like no real estate companies are competing in that space. And I think it's wide open for anybody listening that's in this business. Like it's wide open for real estate agents to kind of fill that void. But anyways, thanks guys.
Yeah, and I think one last thing, our event, January 23rd,
Yes.
Thrive Live, is a collaboration event.
It's open
It's
to
for admins, agents, teams. Come work alongside us in our space. It's pretty cool. It's a half day. Omega's providing lunch and some learning stuff.
Yeah.
Yes, Brad.
Yep. Just FYI.
And we'll do a live Q&A
that
on
to
personal
QuickBooks.
branding, on building businesses, on getting more business. It is a 1-for-1 in productivity. So agent to agent,
Yeah.
there's lead
that's cool.
generation, follow up.
And I've seen
all
the
good stuff.
events that you guys put on. They're super interactive. You guys do a really good job engaging, and you guys do have good knowledge that you're passing along. So good work.
Yeah,
Thank
so
you.
that's open to any realtors within driving distance that want to come into Troy. That it doesn't matter if it's day one on the job or if you've been here for 15, 20 years.
And I have to imagine you have a Facebook event if they want to look it up.
Yes, it's on
Yep.
Facebook. You'll find it there. Yep.
Awesome.
Limited seating, so
Awesome.
get in there.
Yep.
Well, thank you guys for coming in and kind of sharing your story
Thank
with everyone.
you.
Really appreciate it.
Appreciate
fun.
you.
All right,
This was
everyone.
fun.
See you guys next time.
All right.
You've been listening to Inside Real Estate, the nation's top real estate podcast. Don't forget to follow us at irepodcast.com and everywhere where podcasts are available.